It's Design Behind the Mask with your host, Carl Waldron. This is a show about design and your favorite fandoms. First, we discuss a fancy design thing, then I give you 2 fun recommendations based on our topic. You come for the voice, you leave with a choice. Sound good? Let's start the show. What's up, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Carl Waldron, and today's topic is the typographic simplicity in the video game Control. Now, if you have not played the video game Control before, you are missing out. It is a fantastic sci-fi, odd action-adventure game where your main protagonist gets all these crazy psychic powers but acquired from objects of power that reside within a building called the Oldest House. Now, I know everything I just said makes no sense whatsoever, and if you start playing the game, that's about as much context as you get as you go along. Now, within the game, you'll pick up different lore booklets and sort of scattered pieces of backstory so that you get more context for the game, but it is a fantastic game. I'm not going to go too much into what the game is, but what I will talk about is the typography within the video game. Now, Remedy Entertainment went out of their way to make a very haunting, very atmospheric game, and a big portion of the atmosphere is the typography, which, saying it out loud, is both odd and very exciting because as a person who loves typography, seeing it prominently placed and used in a way that evokes an emotion is in a video game, because I mean typography does that anyway, but inside of a video game is very appealing. The type in question is a typeface very near and dear to my heart, avant-garde Gothic. It is a chef's kiss of a typeface. It is a sans serif typeface. It's a very rounded face, and it comes with all these very unique and interesting ligatures. And if you don't know what a ligature is, it is when 2 letters come together to form one sort of glyph that encompasses both letters. Now, not every typeface has these, but avant-garde is, at least to me, known for their ligatures. They're all very beautiful. They're all very unique. And interestingly enough, the ligatures are what sort of dictate how you use the typography. So normally you want to add not a lot, but a good amount of air between each letter form. Avant-garde bucks the trend just a bit, at least in the ways that I've seen it used well, where they reduce the amount of space between letter forms so that they're almost touching. Sometimes they are touching. Sometimes letters are manipulated in a way that portions of them are removed so that they can fit together in this nice new way. Like, a great example is the NT ligature, where the T is basically split. They cut the crossbar on the left-hand side off, and then they add the crossbar to the top of the N so that the N functions as the rest of the T. Now, I might not have explained that well enough, but what occurs is this beautiful marriage of these 2 letter forms that make this beautiful NT sort of monogram almost. So if anyone's out there with the initials NT, perhaps look into avant-garde Gothic and grab that ligature as your monogram. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's already done for you. Nonetheless, in the video game Control, avant-garde Gothic is used beautifully as a transitional typeface when you enter a new section of the game. So if you go into like let's say you enter the game and through the lobby, when you make your way to the sort of conference hall or executive, like the executive chambers where the director would be, where all the high up muckety mucks would be, working. As you open the door and enter the room, a giant, you're greeted with the word executive plastered across the screen in large, bold, white type. That is very stark, it's heavy, and it is accompanied with not a chime, but a musical note, almost like a thud, like boom, like a very ominous note puts this type on the screen, and it freaks you the hell out when you see it. It's very imposing. It makes everything feel very claustrophobic almost. It could be because the letter forms are a little closer together. It could be the weight of the typography. It could be everything. But once you see those transitions throughout the game, they both mark a milestone for you. You've entered a new area of the game. It also reinforces the sort of dread that comes with exploring this supernatural building. Now, I'm sure that many games before this have done maybe not exactly the same thing, but similar sort of executions of typography. But I haven't experienced one that uses such a beautiful typeface for such nefarious means, if that makes sense. It's a wonderful juxtaposition between the avant-garde Gothic, beautiful the beautiful letter forms and, rounded corners. It's just like this very smooth sans serif, and it's used as, it almost feels sharp when it's slapped on screen, sharp and heavy. And like I said, it reinforces the atmosphere that Remedy was trying to put forth in the video game, and I think it does it to a beautiful extent. It was the first thing I noticed when I saw it. I yelled out, "It's avant-garde!" And that's the exact same thing I screamed out when the original trailer for Control came out. I was glued to the screen. I believe it was E3 of 2017, 2018, something like that. I don't know. But I'll add the trailer to the show notes. But the moment the logo Control popped up on screen, I sat up and went, "Oh crap, it's avant-garde." Now, designers, if you're listening, I'm sure that this has happened to you. If it hasn't, it's merely because you haven't seen a typeface that you really like in the wild yet, but it will. It will resonate with you. When you use type as often as a designer does, or use a specific typeface, I don't know, and lovingly use it, whenever you see someone else use it, especially in something that you love, like for me, video games, comic books, stuff like that, you get excited. You're like, oh man, it almost feels like when you find out a friend knows another friend that you didn't know they knew. You're like, oh, Johnny? I know Johnny. I went to school with Johnny. Oh my God, that's crazy. You guys, how do you know him? Oh, that's your cousin? What? Oh my goodness. That also has happened to me in life. But the same feeling, but with type. Now, I've had conversations with fellow designers, good friends of mine, who almost hate the fact that they notice typography out in the wild. It doesn't bring them the same satisfaction that it does me. And I think they're upset that they know such minute details about random things within the world, but I find it very enjoyable. anytime I see avant-garde out in the world, I'm excited. I'd love for that thing to be more places, if anything. I've used it. I've used it for logos. I've used it for big blocks of copy. I've used avant-garde for websites, which is it's expensive. So I wouldn't say you should, but it is very legible. It's beautiful, and depending on the cut you get, I'd say I have two of them. The ITC doesn't seem to come with the ligatures for some reason. I'm not sure why. I might be using it wrong, but the Pro version, Avant-Garde Gothic Pro, does come with the full set of ligatures. Now, I'm sure the ITC cut has the ligatures, and I'm simply misusing whichever one I have. If you have it and you have the ligatures, please let me know. I want to know why mine is not working properly. Because at the moment, the only cut of the typeface that I have that works with the glyphs, with the ligatures, is Avant-Garde Pro, and the only cuts I have are book, medium, and bold. I don't have thin, extra light, any of those good variants, and I want them. But then I have the whole suite of ITC Avant-Garde, and it doesn't have the ligatures. I'm very confused. So yeah, if you have an answer for me, if you know how I can access these mystical glyphs and ligatures, please let me know in the comments, or drop us a note on our contact page or in social media. This will be a great time to transition to who's hosting Design Behind the Mask. Design Behind the Mask is hosted by Secret Identity. We are a design agency that specializes in, it's gonna blow your mind, pop culture and fandom design / healthcare. It is a strange two verticals to be an expert in, but that's where we are, and we love them both, and it's mostly because we like to help. So head on over to secretidentity.net, check out our work, check out our blog posts, and of course, listen to more episodes of Design Behind the Mask. Now, within this game Control, there are other interesting typefaces. Now, I wasn't able to get confirmation on the supporting typefaces within it. Now, in the menus of Control, it's a very, just like the game, very claustrophobic, very type heavy menu. It doesn't always work, and Remedy has gone back and tweaked the menus to make it a little more legible, tweaked the typefaces, I believe, to get it to be more easier to digest, because there is a lot of copy that you have to digest, especially on top of a map. But I wasn't able to get confirmation as to what typeface they're using. So if Remedy is listening, or anyone who worked on Control is listening, please let me know if I get this right. It's either the menu type that goes over the maps and kind of the on the left hand side, there's like objectives. I believe it's either Interstate Condensed or ITC Franklin Gothic. I can't tell which one. It could be either one. I don't know. I'm leaning more towards Interstate, but there are certain letter forms that I see, certain condensed letter forms that I see that remind me very much of Franklin Gothic. Another of my favorite typefaces. The mark of a true type nerd, having favorite typefaces. Or even just a design nerd. I've been doing this so long that, I've now gotten to the point where I'm pointing out specific cuts of condensed typefaces. I don't know. I don't yet not like doing that. So perhaps doing this podcast will help me to become cynical and not want to call out fonts again or typefaces. So yeah, it's either ITC Franklin Gothic or Interstate condensed. Both beautifully cut, well-established typefaces. If you don't know, Interstate got its name because it is literally the typeface that is on interstate signage when you're driving. All those big green banners telling you where to get off, what exit in the Northeast. Interstate. I'm pretty sure it's all throughout the U.S., but it was specifically made for that. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I don't think it's Interstate condensed, because the Interstate I, the capital I, is very specific. And I'm not seeing that here in the sample that I'm looking at. So it might be Franklin Gothic. I don't know, or it could be a completely different typeface. I don't know. I have been fooled before. I once called Helvetica New or Helvetica Now. I called it Helvetica, but it was actually, oh God, what was it? New something. Nueu. New Gothic, maybe? I can't remember. But it was basically the progenitor to Helvetica. All right, we're getting down way too deep into this typography hole. But that's what you can expect from Design Behind the Mask. Nerdy design talk couched inside of popular fandoms. So that is kind of the whole long and short of it. The game uses type both in sort of this ominous way, and it also, I mean, you have to digest quite a bit of lore through like office documents. So type is a very important part of the game. The whole crux behind the lore is that you're working for this agency called the Federal Bureau of Control. So it's a government agency, a bureaucratic agency that not explores, it contains supernatural elements within the oldest house, which is their base of operations. The beautiful kind of duality of that is this weird, ethereal, ancient magic being sort of presented to you through bureaucratic, very straight-laced memos typed out as if it were the FBI or something, right? It's just like redacted memos, and type is a big part of that. So the typography they use to kind of get their story across has to be legible. It has to not hurt your eyes. It has to have sufficient line spacing and letter spacing so that you can digest a lot of copy at once. So Control is a very, in my eyes, it's a very good example of type done well in video games. Now, we'll go over other typographic milestones in video games. I mean, there's been so many. Video games created an entire sort of genre of typography, the kind of pixelated video game type that people know and love based on just, limitations. And that's another thing we'll get into in the show down the line, is designing within limitations allows you to create new cool things. Like following the rules helps you break the rules almost. So just as an aside, all that bit, like the 8-bit typography that was created for CRT TVs and sort of those big pixel monitors created a very beautiful family of type that people still use today, and it's tied directly to video games. When you see that type of typeface, you think of Pac-Man or something, and you'd be surprised how many different forms of that type were created for different games over the years. There's so many games you've never played that have beautiful pixel type. It's amazing. Anyway, again, off on a tangent. Let's get back on track. This brings us to the funner portion. It's a good portion. It's a good portion of the cast. It is our recommendations. Now, after every episode, I like to give 2 recommendations for something based on our topic. So today's topic was typography within the video game Control. And we have a fandom recommendation, which is a product, a service, a freebie, something aimed at fans of the genre we just kind of dipped our toe into. And then we have a design recommendation. This recommendation helps either designers or aspiring designers or anyone to create something similar to what we talked about. It could be, I don't know, a service, a tutorial, app, a book that you can read, anything. So today's recommendations, let's kick into it. Here's the first one. Our fandom recommendation is a real simple one. Go play Control and all its DLC by Remedy Entertainment. It is now a budget game, I would say. You can get Control pretty cheap. I believe they gave it away on PlayStation. So if you have a PlayStation or an Xbox, you can probably find Control fairly inexpensive. If you have Steam, they probably have a Steam sale that you can get it. Or, I don't know, maybe Good Old Games has it. I would say if you have not played the game yet, go play it. If you've played it before, go replay a couple levels and just see what I'm talking about the type and how it's woven pretty well into both the narrative and sort of the gameplay of the game. So look at it with a fresh new eye, a fresh take. And if you haven't played it yet, I highly suggest it. It is a beautiful game, a haunting story. It gets a little wonky sometimes, but it's a video game. It's fun, and you get to be a superhero, which is pretty cool. A mystic, like sci-fi superhero, not like Superman or anything. Or why do people go straight to Superman? I guess because he's the most well-known Superman. Not like, I was going to say the Flash, but that's another well-known. What's a superhero that people don't normally call out? You get to be a superhero, not like Sunspot, but you get to, levitate and throw things with your mind. You get to be Professor X, kind of. But, I'm not going to make that joke. So yeah, that's our fandom recommendation. Numero dos, our design recommendation. Font Self. www.fontself.com. It is an app for Mac that allows you to create your own typeface. I know, right? I've used it. This is not an ad. I'm not going to get any money for this. I just stand behind the product because I actually used it. It was, I can't remember how much it cost. So I'm going to click this link while I talk and look it up for you. I used it to build a typeface for an online community called Dadstiny that I run. I created a typeface, I drew it, and then I used Font Self to bring it to life. It completely worked. I was able to add it to both Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign. I was able to turn it into a web font. It cost $59. It's a one-time fee. If you buy now, you can save 25% at the time of this recording. I'm sure they'll have a deal after that too. But you can use it. You can use the bundle with Illustrator and Photoshop, Creative Suite. It's very easy to use. It's easy to test. And at the end of it, you have a typeface, and you can take that typeface and go sell it on Creative Market or Design Cuts or some other website that you can make money selling fonts. Now, I haven't sold my font because I don't think anyone would want it. But you should sell your fonts because you are a great font maker. I can see it. I can see it in your face. It's going to be good. So, those are our 2 recommendations. I'll give you the rundown once again. Fandom recommendation, go play Control. It's a beautiful game. Design recommendation, Font Self, fontself.com. Great app to help you become a typographer. Go make a typeface and go sell it on Creative Market or on your own website and keep all the money for yourself. But whatever you do, make sure you love doing it. That is today's episode. Thank you so much for getting to the end with me. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something. And I hope you join us for the next episode. Take care. See you soon.